Section 3 of the Golden Gems of Life. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Bob Klingerman. The Golden Gems of Life by Emory Adams Allen and S. C. Furgeson. Section 3. The Home Circle. The home circle may be, ought to be, the most delightful place on earth, the center of the purest affections and most desirable associations, as well as of the most attractive and exalted beauties to be found this side of paradise. Nothing can excel in beauty and sublimity the quietude, peace, harmony, affection, and happiness of a well-ordered family, where virtue is nurtured and every good principle fostered and sustained. The home circle is the nursery of affection. It is the Eden of young attachments, and here should be planted and tended all the germs of love, every seed that shall ever sprout in the heart, and how carefully should they be tended, how guarded against the frosts of jealousy, anger, envy, pride, vanity, and ambition, how rooted in the best soil of the heart, and nourished and cultivated by the soul's best husbandry. Here is the heart's garden. Its sunshine and flowers are here. All its beautiful, all its lovely things are here, and here should be expended care, toil, effort, patience, and whatever may be necessary to make them still more lovely. It is around the memories of the home circle that cluster the happiest and sometimes the saddest of the recollections of youth. There is a thought of brother and sister, perhaps now gone forever, of childish sorrow and grief, of the mother's prayer and the father's blessing. Do you wonder what these memories, both bitter and sweet, linger in the chambers of the mind long after those of the busy years of maturity have faded away before the approach of age? With what assiduity ought all who have arrived at the years of maturity strive to make their homes pleasant, and especially is this true of parents, so that its members, when they go from thence, will carry with them thoughts that through all the weary years that are before them will afford a pleasant retreat for them when well nigh wearied with the care which comes with increasing years. We cannot honor with too deep a reverence the home affections. We cannot cultivate them with too great a care. We cannot cherish them with too much solicitude. There is the center of our present happiness, the springs of our deepest and strongest tides of joy. When the home affections are duly cultivated, all others follow or grow out of them as a natural consequence. If any would have fervent and noble affections, such as give power and glory to the human heart, such as sanctify the soul and make it supremely beautiful, such as an angel might covet without shame, let him cultivate all the feelings that originate as from a radiant point in the home circle. The true flower of home love requires for its development the aid of every member of the home circle. The tears of sympathy, as well as the sunshine of domestic affection, bring it to its glorious maturity. Oft times there are families, the members of which are, without doubt, dear to each other. If sickness or sudden trouble fall on one, all are afflicted, and make haste to help and sympathize and comfort. But in their daily life and ordinary intercourse there is not only no expression of affection, none of the pleasant and fond behavior that has, perhaps, little dignity, but which more than makes up for that in its sweetness. But there is an absolute hardness of language and actions which is shocking to every sensitive and tender feeling. Between father and mother, brother and sister, ofttimes pass rough and hasty words, and sometimes angry words, even more frequently than words of endearment. To judge from their actions, they do not appear to love each other, nor does it seem to have occurred to them that it is their duty, as it should be their best pleasure, to do and say all that they possibly can for each other's good and happiness. It is in the home circle where we form many, if not the most, of our habits, both of action and speech. These habits we carry into the world. They cling to us. The vulgarities which we use at home we shall use abroad, the coarse sayings, the low jest, the vulgar speeches, the grammatical blunders. All the lingual imperfections which go to form a part of our home conversation will enter into our conversation at all times and in all places. The home circle should be held too sacred to be polluted with the vulgarities of languages which could have originated nowhere but in low and groveling minds. It should be dedicated to love and truth, to all that is tender in feeling and noble and pure in thought, to holiest communion of soul with soul. In order that such a communion may be enjoyed, it is requisite that language should there perform its most sacred office, even the office of transmitting unimpaired the most tender and sacred affections that glow in the human heart. If the dialects of angels could be used on earth, its fittest place would be with the home circle. The language of home should be such as would not stain the purest lips, nor fall harshly on the most refined ear. It should abound in words of wisdom, which are at once the glory of youth and the honor of age. The home circle, what tender associations does it recall? How deeply interwoven are its golden filaments with all the fiber of our affectionate natures, forming the glittering of the heart's golden life. Here are father, mother, child, brother, sister, companions, all the heart loves, all that makes earth lovely, all that enriches the mind with faith and the soul with hope. What language is most fitting for home use, to bear the messages of home feeling, to be freighted with the diamond treasure of home hearts? Should it be any other than the most refined and pure, any other than that breathing the sacred charity of affection? Home is the great seating place of every affection that ever grows in the heart. Hence all should tend well to it, watch, prune, and cultivate with all prudence and wisdom, with all fervency of spirit. Let the music of the heart swell its notes here in one perpetual anthem of goodwill. Let praise and prayer and fervent good wishes and words and works hallow its sacred shrine. Let offices of love go round like smiles at a feast of joy. Let the whole soul devote its energies to making happy its home, and its rewards will be great. If there be any tie formed in life which ought to be securely guarded from anything which can put it in peril, it is that which unites the members of a family. If there be a spot upon earth from which discord and strife should be banished, it is the fireside. There center the fondest hopes and the most tender affections. The great lever by which the heart is moved is love. It is the basis of all true excellence, of all excellent thought. How pleasing the spectacle of that home circle which is governed by the spirit of love! Each one strives to avoid giving offense, and is studiously considerate of the other's happiness. Sweet, loving dispositions are cultivated by all, and each tries to surpass the other in his efforts for the common harmony. Each heart glows with love, and the benediction of heavenly peace seems to abide upon that dwelling with such power that no storm of passion is able to arise. There is no pleasanter sight than that of a family of young folks who are quick to perform little acts of attention towards their elders. The placing of the big armchair for the mother, or kindly errands done for the father, and scores of little deeds show the tender sympathy of gentle, loving hearts. Parents should show their appreciation to these kindly acts. If they do not indicate they are appreciated, the habit is soon dropped. Little children are imitative creatures, and quickly catch the spirit surrounding them. So, if the father shows kindly attention to the mother, bright eyes will see the act, and quick minds will make a note of it. By example, much more than by precept, can children be taught to speak kindly to each other, to acknowledge favors, to be gentle and unselfish, to be thoughtful and considerate of the comfort of the family. The boys, with inward pride of the father's courteous demeanor, will be chivalrous and helpful to their sisters, and the girls, imitating the mother, will be patient and gentle, even when brothers are noisy and heedless. In the homes where true courtesy prevails, it seems to meet you on the threshold. You feel the kindly welcome on entering. No angry voices are heard upstairs, no sullen children are sent from the room, no peremptory orders are given to cover the delinquencies of housekeeping or servants. A delightful atmosphere pervades the house, unmistakable yet indescribable. Such a house, filled by the spirit of love, is a home indeed, to all who enter within its consecrated walls. Members of the home circle lose nothing by mutual politeness. On the contrary, by maintaining not only its forms, but by inward cultivation of its spirit, they become contributors to that domestic feeling which is in itself a foretaste of heaven. The good night and the good morning salutation, though they may seem but trifles, have a sweet and softening influence on all of its members. The little kiss and artless good night of the smaller ones as they retire to rest have in them a heavenly melody. Children are the pride and ornament of the family circle. They create sport and amusement, and dissipate all sense of loneliness from the household. When intelligent and well trained, they afford a spectacle which even indifferent persons contemplate with satisfaction and delight. Still, these pleasurable emotions are not unalloyed with solicitude. It is an agreeable but changeable picture of human happiness. Time in advancing carries them forward, and ere long they will feel like exclaiming, with the older and more sad and serious ones around them, that their youth exists only in remembrance. There is probably not an unpolluted man or woman living who does not feel that the sweetest consolations and best rewards of life are found in the loves and delights of home. There are very few who do not feel themselves indebted to the influence that clustered around their cradles for whatever good there may be in their character and condition. The influence proceeding from the home circle is either a blessing or a curse, either for good or for evil. It cannot be neutral. In either case it is mighty, commencing with our birth, going with us through life, clinging to us in death, and reaching into the eternal world. It is that unitive power which arises out of the manifold relations and associations of domestic life. The specific influence of husband and wife, of parent and child, of brother and sister, of teacher and pupil, united and harmoniously blended, constitute the home influence. From this we may infer the character of a home influence. It is great, silent, irresistible, and permanent. Like the calm, deep stream, it moves on in silent but overwhelming power. It strikes root deep into the human heart and spreads its branches wide over our whole being. Like the lily that braves the tempest, and the alpine flower that leans its cheek on the bosom of eternal snow, it is exerted amid the wildest scenes of life, and breathes a softening spell in our bosom, even when a heartless world is freezing up the fountains of our sympathy and love. It is governing, restraining, attracting, and traditional. It holds the empire of the heart and rules the life. It restrains the wayward passions of the child and checks the man in his mad career of ruin. But all pictures of earthly happiness are transient in duration. Where can you find an unbroken home circle? The time must soon come, if it has not already, when you must part from those who have surrounded the same parental board, who mingled with you in the gay-hearted joys of childhood and the opening promise of youth. New cares will attend you in new situations, and the relations you form and the business you pursue may call you far from the play-place of your youth. In the unseen future, your brothers and sisters may be sundered from you, your lives may be spent apart, and in death you may be divided, and of you it may be said, "They grew in beauty side by side, they filled one home with glee. Their graves are severed far and wide, by mount and stream and sea." End of section 3.
Section 4 of the Golden Gems of Life. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Golden Gems of Life by Emory Adams Allen and S.C. Furgeson. Section 4. Father and Mother. How can children repay parents for their watchings, anxieties, labours, toils, trials, patience, and love? Think of the utter helplessness of the long years of infancy, of the entire dependence of succeeding childhood, of the necessities and wants of youth, of the burning solicitude of parents and their deep and inexhaustible love. Think of the long years of unwearied toil, of their deep and soul-felt devotion to the interests of their offspring, of the majesty and matchless power of their unselfish affections. And then say whether it is possible for youth to repay too much love and gratitude for all this bestowal of parental anxiety. Oh, what thankfulness should fill every child's heart! What a glorious return of love! Every day should they give them some token of love. Every hour should their own hearts glow with gratitude and holy respect for those who have given them being and loved them so fervently and long. Nothing will so warm and quicken all the affections of the parent's heart as such respect. Who feels like trusting an ungrateful child? Who can believe that his affection for any object can be firm and pure? The object who has loved long and well his parents, has thoroughly electrified his affections, has surcharged them with the sweet spirit of an affectionate tenderness, which will pervade his entire heart, and will make him better and purer for ever. The affections of such a child are to be trusted. As well may one doubt an angel as such a one. There is always a liability where sons and daughters have gone from the home of their childhood, and have formed homes of their own, gradually to lose the old attachments and cease to pay those attentions to parents which were so easy and natural in the olden time. New associations, new thoughts, new cares all come in, filling the mind and heart, and if special pains be not taken, they thrust out the old love. This ought never to be. Children should remember that the change is in them, and not with those they left behind. They have everything that is new, much that is attractive in the present and bright in the future, but the parents' hearts cling to the past, and have most in memory. When children go away, they know not, and never will know until they experience it themselves, what it cost to give them up, nor what a vacancy they left behind. The parents have not, if the children have, any new loves to take the place of the old. Do not, then, heartlessly deprive them of what you still can give of attention and love. If you live in the same place, let your step be, if possible, daily, a familiar one in the old home. Even when many miles away, make it your business to go to your parents. In this matter do not regard time or expense. They are well spent, and some day when the word reaches you, flashed over the wires, that your father or mother is gone, you will not regret then the many hours of travel spent in going to them while they were yet alive. Keep up your intercourse with your parents. Do not deem it sufficient to write only when something important is to be told. Do not believe that to them no news is good news. If it be but a few lines, write them. Write, if it be only to say, I am well. If it be only to send the salutation which says they are dear, or the farewell which tells them that you are affectionate still. These little messages will be like caskets of jewels, and the tear that falls fondly over them would be treasures for you. Let every child, having any pretence to heart, or manliness, or piety, and who is so fortunate as to have a father or mother living, consider it a sacred duty to consult, at any reasonable personal sacrifice, the known wishes of such a parent, until that parent is no more, and, our word for it, the recollections of the same, through the after pilgrimage of life, will sweeten every sorrow, will brighten every gladness, will sparkle every teardrop with a joy ineffable. There is no period of life when our parents do not claim our attention, love, and warmest affections. From youth to manhood, from middle age to riper years, if our honoured parents survive, it should be our constant study how we can best promote their welfare and happiness, and smooth the pillow of their declining years. Nothing better recommends an individual than his attentions to his parents. There are some children whose highest ambition seems to be the promotion of their parents' interest. They watch over them with unwearied care, supply all their wants, and by their devotion and kindness remove all care and sorrow from their hearts. On the contrary, there are others who seem never to bestow a thought upon their parents, and to care but little whether they are comfortably situated or not. By their conduct they increase their cares, embitter their lives, and bring their grey hairs with sorrow to the grave. Selfishness has steeled their hearts to the whispers of affection, and avarice denies to their parents those favours which would materially assist them in the downhill of life. Others, too, by a course of profligacy and vice, have drained to the very dregs their parents' cup of happiness, and made them anxious for death to release them from their sufferings. How bitter must be the doom of those children who have thus embittered the lives of their best earthly friends! There can be no happier reflection than that derived from the thought of having contributed to the comfort and happiness of our parents. When called away from our presence, which sooner or later must happen, the thought will be sweet that our efforts and our care smoothed their declining years, and that they departed in comfort and peace. If we were otherwise, and we denied them what their circumstances and necessities required, and our hearts did not become like the nether millstone, Our remorse must prove a thorn in our flesh, piercing us sharply, and filling our days with regret. There is an enduring tenderness in the love of a mother to her son that transcends all other affections of the heart. It is neither to be chilled by selfishness, weakened by worthlessness, nor stifled by ingratitude. She will sacrifice every comfort to his convenience. She will surrender every pleasure to his enjoyment. She will glory in his fame and exult in his prosperity. If misfortune overtake him, he will be the dearer to her from misfortune, and if disgrace settles upon his name, she will still love and cherish him in spite of his disgrace. If all the worlds besides cast him off, she will be all the world to him. A father may turn his back on his child, brothers and sisters may become inveterate enemies, husbands may desert their wives, wives their husbands, but a mother's love endures through all. In good repute, in bad repute, in the face of the world's condemnation, a mother still lives on, and still hopes that her child may turn from his evil ways and repent. She still remembers his infant smile, that ever filled her bosom with rapture, the merry laugh, the joyful shout of his childhood, the opening promise of his youth, and thinking of these, she never can be brought to think him all unworthy. Young man, speak kindly to your mother, and ever courteously and tenderly of her. But a little while, and you shall see her no more for ever. Her eye is dim, her form bent, and her shadow falls graveward. Others may love you when she has passed away, a kind sister, perhaps, or she whom of all the world you chose for a partner. She may love you warmly, passionately. Children may love you fondly, but never again, never, while time is yours, shall the love of a woman be to you as that of your old, trembling mother has been. Alas, how little do we appreciate a mother's tenderness while living, how heedless we are in youth of all her anxious tenderness. But when she is dead and gone, when the cares and coldness of the world come withering to our hearts, when we experience how hard it is to find true sympathy, how few love us for ourselves, how few will befriend us in misfortune, then it is that we think of the mother we have lost. The loss of a parent is always felt. Even though age and infirmities may have incapacitated them from taking an active part in the cares of the family, still they are rallying points around which affection and obedience, and a thousand tender endeavours to please, concentrate. They are like the lonely star before us. Neither its heat nor light are anything to us in themselves. Yet the shepherd would feel his heart sad if he missed it when he lifts his eye to the brow of the mountains over which it rises when the sun descends. Over the grave of a friend, of a brother or sister, we will plant the primrose, emblematical of youth; but over that of a mother we would let the green grass shoot up unmolested, for there is something in the simple covering which nature spreads upon the grave which well becomes the abiding place of decaying age. Oh, a mother's grave! It is indeed a sacred spot. It may be retired from the noise of business and unnoticed by the stranger, but to our heart how dear! The love we should bear to a parent is not to be measured by years, nor annihilated by distance, nor forgotten when they sleep in dust. Marks of age may appear in our homes and on our persons, but the memory of a beloved parent is more enduring than that of time itself. Who has stood by the grave of a mother and not remembered her pleasant smiles, kind words, earnest prayer, and assurance expressed in a dying hour? Many years may have passed. Memory may be treacherous in other things, but will reproduce with freshness the impressions once made by a mother's influence. Why may we not linger where rests all that was earthly of a beloved parent? It may have a restraining influence upon the wayward, prove a valuable incentive to increase faithfulness, encourage hope in the hour of depression, and give fresh inspiration to Christian life. The mother's love is indeed the golden cord which binds youth to age, and he is still but a child, however time may have furrowed his cheek or silvered his brow, who can yet recall with a softened heart the fond devotion or the gentle chidings of the best friend that God ever gave us. Round the idea of mother the mind of a man clings with fond affection. It is the first deep thought stamped upon our infant heart, and yet soft and capable of receiving the most profound impressions, and the after feelings of the world are more or less light in comparison. Even in old age we look back to that feeling as the sweetest we have known through life. Our passions and our wilfulness may lead us far from the object of our filial love. We may come even to pain their heart, to oppose their wishes, to violate their commands. We may become wild, headstrong, or angry at their counsels or oppositions. But when death has stilled their monitory voices, and nothing but silent memory remains to recapitulate their virtues and deeds, affection, like a flower broken to the ground by a past storm, lifts up her head and smiles away our tears. When the early period of our loss forces memory to be silent, fancy takes her place, and twines the image of our dead parents with a garland of graces, beauties, and virtues, which we doubt not they possessed. End of section 4.
Section 5 of The Golden Gems of Life. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Sorosha Thawansin Surakun from Bangkok, Thailand. The Golden Gems of Life by Emory, Adam, Allen, and S.C. Furgeson. Section 5. Infancy. Infancy, the morning of life. How beautiful it is! How filled with great responsibilities! An immortal soul commences its existence, a life beginning in time, but capable of growing brighter when time is ended and eternity begun, commences to note the passing hours. We welcome the infant with joy and congratulate the parents, and we do well, but to an angel, who can clearly understand the infinite value of the life just commenced, the height of happiness to which it may ascend, the depths of misery to which it may be brought. It must seem a moment so deeply freighted with solemn meaning as to dispel all expressions of joy, save only of a subdued and chastened kind. Infancy has its hours of anxiety and trials for the parents, but it has also its hours of compensating joys, when sickness is in the midst, and it seems as if the cradle song would be exchanged for a dirge. What utter wretchedness of heart is the parent's portion! A mother watching the palpitating frame of her child as life ebbs slowly away evokes the sympathy of the sternest. A child dying dies but once, but the mother dies 100 times. A mother mourning by the grave of her firstborn, and strewing flowers over a coffin form instead of kisses on a warm brow, in one of the deepest spectacles of human woe. These are the dark shades, the night scenes of the parent's experience, but it has its richer, deeper, and more inspiring history, its seasons of comfort and delight, when the little child, insensibly perhaps, draws the parents into a higher and a better life. What a sense of delicious responsibilities fill the parents' hearts, as they realize that in their hands and under their influence is to be molded a character, that they are the ones to carefully watch the unfolding of a human life, the development of a human soul. How earnestly should they seek to set a watch over their lips, to guard well their thoughts and actions, to surround the child with such an air of refined, intelligent, loving kindness that its young life shall as naturally grow into a youth of beauty and a noble manhood or true womanhood, as that the bud on the rose bush expands to the gorgeous flower that excites universal admiration. Welcome to the parents the puny struggle, strong in his weakness, his little arm more irresistible than the soldier's, his lips touched with persuasion, which Chatham and Pericles in manhood had not. His unaffected lamentation, when he lifts up his voice on high or more beautiful, the sobbing child, the face all liquid grief, and he tries to swallow his vexation, soften all hearts to pity and to mirthful and clamorous compassion. The parent's duty commences at the birth of the child. There is importance even in the handling of infancy. If it is unchristian, it will beget unchristian states and feeling. If it is gentle, even patient and loving, it prepares a mood and temper like its own. Then how careful to banish the cross word, the impatient gesture! Let kind and loving tones only fall on its ears, and only gentle hands assist it in its little want. There is scarcely room to doubt that almost scripted, resentful, passionate characters, almost even lovely, firm, and truly ones, are prepared in a great degree by the handling of the nursery. The biography of many persons, faithfully written, would ascribe to the training of early years the molding not only of youthful character, but the more measured forms of mental and moral development of after years. The influence thus exerted in the early days of infancy is often the almost hopeless casting of bread upon the waters, often not found in any its favorable developments until after many days. The cares of world and the evil example of other often choke the word of a good mother, and destroy its vitality, but not unfrequently it will be found, like seed long buried in the earth, to spring up to remembrance in active life, and the counsels imparted to the infant of days be found to influence and control the whole destiny of the man of measured years and grey hair. As it is a law of our being that all, even the most feeble and insignificant, exert a reciprocal influence on all around them, then an infant exerts a great modifying influence on the elder men and women around it. It recalls them from the contemplation of the stern realities of life to its innocent faces, from disdainful, self-reliant pride to trustful confidence, hearts that but for the smile of innocence on the prattling lips of infancy had grown callous beat once more in sympathy with the distressed around them. The feeble clasp of well-nigh helpless hands is sometimes powerful enough to turn strong men from the road to ruin. An infant in his cradle is king, and wields his power over all who come near him. Infants are the poetry of the world, the fresh flowers of our hearts and homes, little conjurers with the magic of their natural ways, working by their spells what delights and enriches all ranks and equalizes the different classes of society. Every infant comes into the world like a delegated prophet, the harbinger and herald of good tidings, whose office it is to make young again hearts well nigh wearied with the care of years. A child warms and softens the heart by its gentle presence. It enriches the soul by a new feeling, and it awakens within it what is favorable to virtue. An infant is a beam of light, a fountain of love, a teacher whose lessons few can resist. There are causes from much that engenders and encourages selfishness, that frees the affections, roughens the manners, and indurates the heart. They brighten the home, deepen love, invigorate exertion, infuse courage, and vivify and sustain the charities of life. An infant finds a place in the hearts of all people. The selfish and proud open their hearts to its silent influence. The aged, who are standing near the end of the journey of life, have the scenes of their younger days called up afresh by the child's artless ways, and in its company grow young again. The disconsolate seem to catch a fresh glimpse of hope when they see the confiding ways of the little child, and take heart again. It would seem fitting that nature should exempt a little child from sickness and death, but alas, impartial fate, which with equal pace knocks at the palace as the cottage gate, is no respecter of age. What a great hush falls on the ear, like a pall, and an untold sadness settles over the heart when the little child is sick. Is it not strange that such a wee bit of a thing should have the power to change everything, making the sunshine that but yesterday played in and out of the window so merrily and bright seem such a mockery today, changing the joyous tones of the other child into funeral notes? Why is it that the soft winds, which but lately seemed burdened with joy, and came softly whispering of pleasant dales, of flowing streams, of flowery bank, to-day seem strangely signing to have exchanged its joy for sorrow? But such is the spell that baby has woven, knitting itself into the very meshes of our hearts in such a quiet, subduing manner that we scarcely know how dear it is until the little form lies still and prostrate. Great as is the influence of the little child while living, it has also a sweet and sacred influence when its brief life is over, and the solemn "dust unto dust, and ashes unto ashes" has been set over the little mound in the churchyard. Sweet places for pure thought and holy meditation are these little graves. They are depositories of the mother's sweetest joy, unfolded buds of innocence, humanity knitted by the frost of time ere yet a canker worm of corruption and nestled among its embryo petals. Callous, indeed, must be the heart of him who can stand by a little graveside and not have the holiest emotions of the soul awakened to thoughts of purity and joy, which belong alone to God and heaven. The mild preacher at his feet tells of a life begun and ended without a stain. And surely, if this be vouchsafed a mortality, how much more pure and holier must be the spirit land, enlightened by the sun of infinite goodness, from whence emanated the soul of the brief sojourner among us. How swells the soul with joy when standing by the earth beds of lost little ones, sorrowful because a sweet treasure has been taken away, joyful because that sweet jewel glitters in the diadem of the redeemed. Such, then, is infancy. 'Tis the brief morning hour which precedes the busy day. It may be grand and beautiful, while its after-life may but be dark and lowering, going out at last with wailing winds and weeping storms, or it may be bleak and dreary, only at last to break forth into the full glory of the beauteous summer day. But whatever its present state, care and trouble and sorrow are sure to await it. So train it, then, that it shall expect them, and look to the only true source for aid and assistance for the trials that lie in store for it. End of section 5. Recording by สโรชา ถาวรสินสุรกุล from Bangkok, Thailand